But first I have Linda, and she has been fighting this issue in many different forms for many years. So,
Thank you, Joy.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate everyone being here tonight and this packed crowd because we care about our children. We care about our communities, our public schools, are part of our lives. In Oklahoma right now, we have Common Core state standards in the law. They were put into law in 2008, and that was a problem from the beginning. They were not written yet. They were written later. They were put into law because we were competing for a grant, the Race to the Top grant. And to compete, to get the money, the millions of dollars, each state had to put certain regulations in place. So that was done, and that was with Kathy Taylor, the former mayor of Tulsa, working in Brad Henry's office. So this was in a Democrat governor's office, Brad Henry. Sandy Garrett was the state school superintendent. We didn't get the money, but we got the regulations. So no carrot, but we got the stick. You know, there's a carrot and a stick usually with federal money. So what has happened now in this administration, Mary Fallon has become the chairwoman of the National Governors Association. They are the nonprofit organization that produced Common Core state standards. As the chair, she is holding tightly to this agenda, which was actually put into place prior to her. It's a bipartisan agreement on the national level with governors and corporations. We have public-private entities working together against the will of the people. When I ran for office in 1994, statewide, I got 49.5% of the vote. That was a grassroots campaign because people in this state do not want top-down control of education. OBE, outcomes-based education, is philosophically the same as Common Core. Common Core says we will equalize the outcomes for students. When they get through this system of K-12, the Common Core standards with the testing, which is really going to drive it when we get that next year, the Common Core testing, that will require teachers to be evaluated according to students passing the test. Students will not be passed on to the next grade if they don't pass the test. Schools can lose the ability to function as a public school, and a charter school can take over if the grading is poor on that school because of the student failure. So the test is higher stakes than anything we've seen before. We already have some high-stakes testing going on, and under George Bush, No Child Left Behind was signed. That testing started us down this road where teachers were teaching to the test. We've been hearing this for several years, but it's going to get much worse with Common Core. The standards themselves in English, children in kindergarten, first grade, learning to read should be reading things they love to read. They should enjoy it. Yeah. But half of the material in reading has got to be instructional, informational, not literature. So stories about Bobby and the puppy dog that, little Johnny wants to read will be less available. And he'll have to read information, industrial type reading. It's really job training brought down into kindergarten. I call it edu-training. It's not education. It's not a full-rounded picture and experience in literature of Western civilization as we have had. And maybe our grandparents had better than we because of the rich classic literature that is full of understanding of our world, of history, of human interaction. And even teachers are being removed more and more from the process because it is being streamlined into a very regimented, step-by-step process that must be followed. And the testing we're getting next year, which will be field tested this year, 3rd through 8th grade, and then end of instruction tests, are all going to be Common Core. As they're field tested this year, we will see that they'll be very stressful, but next year, when school starts, not only is there a test at the end of the year, but there are interval tests every 4 to 5 to 6 weeks, and in between that interval test, there will be 2 more tests. So it's testing, 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 and more testing. In fact, President Obama's spokesperson from the White House, when he had an initiative for more technology for all schools nationwide, which also means more taxes, he said we'll pay through the E-rate, which is through our telephone bill. He said that we need to be testing children day by day and hour by hour, because teachers need to know the mind and how the mind works of the child. So we're not looking at academics and academic achievement. We're looking at how do they process, how do they think. And you keep hearing about critical thinking skills. But those are being driven down to kindergarten level and abstract thinking in a cognitive developmental way, the way that the neurology, the neurons in your brain work physically. It is not possible for children at that young of an age to think on that abstract level. Developmentally, they're inappropriate. You'll hear this. And if you talk to teachers that have taken this very far in the implementation, they will tell you these very things. I've been meeting with teachers all over the state, with parents, and it's the same all over the state. We have pockets of schools that aren't going very far this year. But as I say over and over, next year is going to be full blast. So my urging is listen to each speaker. We have things to offer. There is much more to know than we can possibly present 15 minutes each. And we know you don't want to sit here more than a couple of hours by the time we have questions and answers. So hopefully this will whet your appetite and you will go on the internet, talk to your friends and neighbors, talk to teachers, find out more about it, because there are plenty of people becoming well informed. We have a Senate Bill 1146, which Senator Fields wrote. He's in Osage County, and that kills the standards, the curriculum, and the testing that goes with it. If that passes, it needs to get out of the Senate Education Committee, and right now Senator Ford has not indicated that he will even hear that in committee. So everyone from Bartlesville, friend, neighbor, you know, you probably many voted for him. Let's let him know what you think about Common Core as you do your research and study. There will be some other bills we'll have to follow them through because they can be changed. So we want to watch the process, but there are plenty of people here to talk with that are informed. I think that one thing we all need to know is our governor is really the key to getting this stopped in Oklahoma. If the House passes it, the bill to kill it, and the Senate passes it, she can still veto the bill. So we also need to let the governor know. And we need to have informed teachers that will talk one-on-one to the governor's office, to their representative, and to their senator, because I keep hearing, well, it's just some parents. But no, it isn't. And teachers are sometimes hesitant to speak up because they're in a situation where their administrator may want this. And that's part of that administrator's career plan, is to be one of the first putting this into place. Well, I saw that race to the top, we didn't call it that, but with Common Core, and I had a superintendent tell me the other day, Democrat, he said, Linda, you were right in '94, and he said, my mother was the superintendent at the time, and I was too in a different district. He said, we spent millions of dollars that were wasted. But it still was better that we stopped it then and didn't go any further. Because this will not work. It will not produce a good education for our children.
Amen.
And that's the main thing. Thank you.